And so Obama from the beginning, Foundation, CIA run, and they're blocking the release of these records. There is no doubt this guy has been groomed for big things from the very start. We now see what that is. Left cover to come in and convince the left to go along with the New World Order. Please continue, Wayne Madsen.
Well, as I said, we have a president with these obvious holes in his background, and we have a president who is refusing to disclose his transcripts from both Occidental in Los Angeles, where he was an undergraduate, and from Columbia, where he finished up his undergraduate work before he went to law school at Harvard University. Why won't he release those records?
We know this. He's a fully compromised individual, and in a world of black ops, in a world of shadow government, they wouldn't let him into any sort of power if he wasn't fully compromised.
Well, I believe this is the idea. This is what people are fearful of. We had a problem with George W. Bush because, remember, he said anything in his early youth was off the table. Then later we found out he was, busted for cocaine possession. He was basically a drunk, had problems with DWIs, but this information we had some records of, just from arrest records, if anything else. But with Obama, we have basically this concerted effort to keep these, what should be records in the public domain, secret.
And any time the system wants to torpedo Obama, if he ever gets out of line, they've got this mausoleum full of skeletons to bring him to his knees. Shifting gears to false flag terror with the underwear bomber, new developments there with your intel sources, and expanding on that as well. The false flag event you were telling me during the break, and I've also seen this in the news, the residue of the bombing of the CIA command base, having the residue of Pakistani ISI.
Well, we know that now it's being reported in the Indian press that a forward base Chapman, which was where the bomb went off, the residue shows that it was from Pakistani ISI known previous bombings. So nothing happens with the ISI without the CIA knowing about it.
So why would that be done? Kind of like a Pentagon attack or a Fort Hood event to get the military all riled up and in support of retaliatory and expanding events, military sorties into Pakistan?
Well, we know even prior to the bombing in Khost, one of the generals over there was saying that the whole U.S. intelligence operations in Afghanistan were totally messed up. There was a big morale problem. So what better than to have an attack against a CIA base to basically, bang the drums for reprisal attacks. We now know that this guy was a triple agent. He was well known as a jihadi website blogger, we're told, but he was basically press ganged into service with the Jordanian intelligence service by a distant relative of the Jordanian royal family. So,
all right, let me ask you this. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, add to that point, and then I have another question.
Oh, well, so we have this officer, Jordanian officer, Sharif, who brings this guy, Balawi, into the CIA employment in Afghanistan. And where was the vetting? The vetting, now we find out that some of the residue explosive material at Camp Chapman was from ISI sources. Was this the CIA sacrificing some of its own agents to push a political agenda, which would make it yet another one of these false flag attacks?
Well, we know the MO of these people always shows this. Going back to Blackwater, going back to the White House trying to persecute reporters and their sources, what you said literally 5 years ago, what Tarpley said, what many others said 5-6 years ago, has now been confirmed that Blackwater was running hit teams. They say they were themselves. They would, just a few years ago, they threatened to sue you if you said that. Now they're just out in the open, admitting they're running hit teams all over the world. All this corruption coming out of Blackwater. Blackwater's set to get a $1 billion contract. Obama is fully embracing them. I want your comment on that. And then secondarily, I ended up getting contacted by somebody who said that Colonel Anthony Schaefer wanted to be on the show of Able Danger. And then he came on and said, I agree with the 9/11 investigation. I agree with people that think something's going on here. I can't tell you everything I know, but the government allowed these attacks to happen, and they wouldn't let us go after al-Qaeda because they want their own private army, Blackwater and others, and so they don't want our own army going after these people. So what's going on with Blackwater right now, A, and then B, what do you think of what Schaefer has to say, tying it into Sybil Edmonds?
Well, I definitely think that Blackwater was basically used as a CIA proprietary. Eric Prince, of course, already had a lot of money. He inherited from his father, Edgar Prince, a big automotive tycoon. So there was money already there, and Prince comes along, sets up this operation. The CIA uses it. Prince hires a lot of former CIA officials into Blackwater. Then he's doing these puff piece interviews for Vanity Fair. He's really looking for sympathy. I think what he's doing is graymailing. He's graymailing the CIA, saying, look, if you continue to allow me to be prosecuted or threats of prosecution, my employees to be prosecuted, lawsuits, I'm in a position to expose a lot more than us just trying to kill some guy in Hamburg and AQ Khan in Pakistan and running other hit squads.
And then he ups the ante and says, give me a $1 billion contract.
Exactly, and this is what he's doing. This is called graymailing. Oliver North did it during his trial. That's why they threw all the charges out against North, because he was in a position to bring down the Reagan administration. It's really the same thing here. It's the same tactic being used, and Prince is using it, I would say, with a lot of advice from people at the CIA, urging him on. We want you to be out there to make these gray mail threats so our other covert operations can be safe and secure.
And he's not worried about having a kayak accident.
I don't think so. I think Prince is basically doing this with a wink and a nod from people in the CIA because he knows that the members of Congress, the intelligence oversight committees, are going to get the message loud and clear about graymailing, and so is the Obama administration. Hence, we see that they're prepared to give him this big contract to train the Afghan.
And notice now, it doesn't matter how many of his employees get indicted, how bad it gets. They say Blackwater's suddenly wonderful again.
That's right, and what we know about their activities, I see Judge T.S. Ellis here in the Eastern District of Virginia, what's known as the CIA rocket docket in Alexandria, threw out the lawsuits against Blackwater, but there was a John Doe 2 and a John Doe 1, former Blackwater employees, that said this company was involved in everything from child prostitution to tax evasion to money laundering to drug smuggling to weapons smuggling. You name it, this company was involved with it. And, of course, Prince knows that. And that's why he's basically graymailing. I call it blackmail. I think letting him off the hook by calling it graymailing, but blackmail is illegal. So he's going to get, he's graymailing the government and saying, look, I can release even more if you Justice Department lawyers want to play games with me.
And clearly, the Army is in a turf war. They don't like Blackwater.
No, and most uniformed people don't, not only because of the wage disparity between the low wages paid to our military uniformed personnel as opposed to the money that the Blackwaters of the world make, but also the fact is that when these mercenaries in their civilian garb commit an atrocity, the retaliation, people are going to look for the guys wearing the American patch on their uniform, and they're the ones who are going to get retaliated against. And the uniformed personnel are sick and tired of being the targets for atrocities committed by these mercenaries like Blackwater and the others out there. And I've been told this by people for actually long before Iraq and Afghanistan, when some of these mercenaries were starting to show up in Africa. Uniformed officers were telling me that they despised the presence of these people on the ground.
Well, look at what Sybil Edmonds says she got. She was listening to the FBI intercepts at the FBI, and it was the CIA involved in child kidnapping, involved in narcotics trafficking. And I mean, these people are just pure evil.